Chosen ones, I'm about to share a secret truth. Only a few know. A personal revelation from God that will change everything. If you skip this, you'll miss the key to unlocking the greatest reward of your life. Do not scroll past this. I need to tell you something important right away in this message. This isn't just a nice thought to feel better. That's what it says, a solid report of something that was already decided for you all along. In the place where these things happen, it was set in stone. And now it's being told to you. Because this is the last piece of the puzzle that has already been set. God just told you that you won. I don't want you to hear those words as a way to keep going or get through a tough time. I want you to hear them as the simple truth about where your story is now. The confirmation has been sent. The decision has been made. It's clear what will happen. But I want this message to help you understand more than just that your victory is certain. I want you to know what it feels like to fully accept that victory, as well as what stops most chosen ones from getting there. We need to be clear about the difference between confirming something and actually getting it. And a lot of the chosen ones feel the confirmation without really getting it. You know you've won when that confirmed victory changes your daily life for the person it was meant for. As for most chosen ones, they live in the middle, holding on to a sure victory that hasn't quite hit yet. God was happy. Before we go any further, I want you to remember that exact picture. Not an if, then smile. Not the smile of someone who is reviewing your most recent work. This is the smile of someone who knows your whole story from the start to the end. Who looks at you right now with all the things you still have to deal with and smiles because that smile is the best response to what they see. There's a certain way your story ends. The smile has nothing to do with what you did. God knows that. It tells you something about the ending while you're still in the middle of the story and can't even see the ending. You got it. That part of you that has been fighting for so long that winning began to feel like something from a different time in your life needs to hear those words. The part that learned to keep its distance from victory announcements in case they didn't stick. Today, that part needs to hear this. Do not think about it too much at first. Listen with the part of your mind that hears before it can think about it. If what I said made you feel something, type 777 in the comments right now. Not until you fully understand it. It would be great if something picked up the signal before your brain could process it, because that's how your receiver connects to the message, and connection is the first step in receiving. Please know that every seed you plant in this mission grows into a torch that shines in someone else's darkness. Whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our community, does not go to a channel. Your actions are supporting a divine mission to save lost souls. But more than your support, we want your presence. When you head to our community through the link in the description, the pinned comment, you aren't just visiting a site, you are entering a community of like-minded believers. This is a sanctuary where you can post your prayer requests, lift up the burdens of others, and engage in daily discussions with a family that speaks the language of faith. Whether you are joining one of our membership tiers for deeper study, sowing a seed of faith, or simply joining our daily morning prayers, you are helping us build a global altar of worship. Heaven moves through willing voices, but it grows through a community that stands together. Each gift you give acts as living water for those in our community seeking healing and hope. Give, and it will be given to you, is the promise that sustains our shared mission. I invite you now to step out of the shadows and into this circle of prayer. Come with purpose, join the conversation, and plant your seed in fertile ground. Let's open the heavens together. Release your seed today. Join our community and see what God brings back into your life. I have a question for you while you are feeling recognized. What would it mean for the rest of today, tomorrow morning, and the next 7 days if you fully accepted what was just confirmed? Not as a spiritual idea that you hold close to your heart, but as a real thing that changes your morning, your breath, and your mind's natural state when it's not thinking about anything in particular. How would that feel? What could it allow? Please keep that question in mind as I will answer it before this message ends. Friends, I want to tell you a simple truth before we go any further, because everything else that is based on this truth changes. When a victory is declared, there are two parts. Most chosen ones only go through the first. It's not a small thing. That's the most important thing I want you to understand today. Because how you feel about the confirmation you had in your spirit when this message began depends on how well you understand it. The first part is the sign-off. The proof comes from God. It comes in the unique ways that God speaks to those who have been called. You know something deep down before you understand it. Hear words that hit home before your mind can even think about them, or have things happen that you know are not by chance. It is true that the confirmation took place. It's a statement of what your story is really about before it gets to that point. You know it's real when the confirmation comes. It gives you a sense of knowing, settling, and a short but real sense of a weight lifting a little. It makes something in the receiver react in a way that can only be responded to by truth. It's not the same as how you feel when you hear a strong argument or a compelling story. The second part is the party. The victory that really sinks in, isn't just known, is felt, is truly embodied, and is carried into the choices you make the next day without you having to remember it first. Present in the way your mind feels when you wake up in the morning, before you even have a thought. Present in the way your body moves during the normal parts of the day, when no one is looking and there's no reason to feel like a winner. You don't remember knowing. You know because you've lived it, and it stays with you without you having to work at it. In the space between these two parts, you can live like you won, even though you know you won. A lot of time is spent in that space by those who have been chosen. They were told the news. They think the confirmation is true. These people are grateful for the confirmation. For some, it hasn't hit them so deeply that it changes how the morning feels. What most chosen ones do to close that gap is wait for enough changes to happen around them to prove what was said. They think of the confirmation as a promise for the future that will feel real when the proof they can see comes in. And because of that, they stay ready to fight for longer. They keep dealing with things that have already been decided and fighting things that have already been won. Even though the battle is over, they are still in the mindset that the battle required, even though the battle is over. The reception isn't caused by where you are. Even if things change, you might not fully accept it. The reception is based on your inner state and how tuned in and ready you are for the deep level where the declaration was given. That's what I'm going to talk about today. Type victory in the comments if you've seen or heard this difference for yourself. Please let me know if you've been holding on to a confirmation that hasn't fully hit you yet. Giving that experience a correct name is the first step to finding a solution for it. People who have been chosen. I want to talk about what the battle season does to your inner receiver. This is something that is often missed when people talk about winning. It also gives a clear and useful reason for why a chosen one can reach a certain victory and still feel that gap. There is a certain way your body responds to the constant demand of a long-term battle, whether it's spiritual, emotional, relational, financial, or just that tough, everyday problem that doesn't have a fancy name, but costs as much as any other problem. It changes, it uses energy to keep the important things running. In order to improve others, it limits some abilities. It makes the hard to find tools that you need to keep going during a long battle. There are a few different parts that make up the tools of the battle season. The first is a greater awareness. Always looking around for things that could hurt you. It's important to know what could happen next and how to handle it. That process is always running in the background, checking the situation for what could happen next, no matter what you're doing. The ready stance is the second part. Being ready to act quickly with your whole system. Your body is a little tight, so it can react quickly without having to move from a relaxed state first. The third is taking care of hope, setting reasonable goals for yourself so that if things don't go as planned, the disappointment won't be too great when things don't keep their promise at the time you thought they would. Having a narrow focus is the fourth. Focusing on what you need right now will keep your system from getting too busy with all the thing you have to do at once. These parts were all right for the battle. Without a doubt, I want to make that point. These tools were really useful. The fight went on for a long time and asked for more from you than you thought you had. I admire these tools a lot. These tools don't know when the battle is over, though. They weren't created to know when the event is over and turn off. It was designed for them to keep going and stay ready until something clear and visible in the outside world makes them believe that the threat is gone for good. And this is the problem right now. It's not the visible world that first tells us that God has won. First, it comes through your spirit. It comes at a time when it looks like the battle is still going on around you. Your tools may still seem to need the management mode they were made for when things go wrong. And because those tools are made to respond to visible outside signals rather than messages from the spirit, they don't see the confirmation as a sign to back off. In their spirit, this means that the chosen one has won. At the level where these decisions are made, the battle is already won for them. But they stay in the battle stance, fighting what they already won and managing what they already settled. They stay in the mode the battle required, even though the battle is over. This isn't being weak. Your tools are just doing what they were made to do. It's not going to help to try harder, to be in a different place, to fix the problem. You need to get your receiver back to a place where the spirit level confirmation can reach those tools and send that. Stand down, signal clearly and deeply enough for those tools to actually hit up Not just hear about it, but really get it. The smile of God on those who have been chosen. But I don't want to rush past this picture, because it makes me think of something I don't want to forget. In old writings, pictures were used instead of words to show that God had settled an important part of someone's story. A picture, God's brow moving towards someone. Someone caught God's attention. Someone and their future with God's smile. This image shows up at certain times, and I want you to notice one thing about those times. Before the proof comes, the smile comes. In the records all the time, every time. David was taking care of animals in a field and hadn't done anything that would go down in history books yet. This was before he was anointed, before he fought Goliath, before he became king, and before any of the other things that David is famous for. In that normal, unknown field, the smile was directed at him, not because of what he had done, but because of where his story was already going. The smile meant that the ending of the story was being told to someone who was still at the beginning, because the open threshing floor was too dangerous. Gideon hid from his enemies in a wine press and worked the grain there in secret. He said that he was the weakest person in his family, and that his family was the least important in the area. Not acting strong or great, but hiding, getting by with little, and staying alive when things get tough. He was hiding and managing when the declaration found him and called him something he couldn't have called himself, based on what was clear about his situation. It was the ending that made them smile, not this chapter. Ruth was picking up the leftover harvest in a different country, even though it wasn't hers by inheritance or claim. A widow who did not have the family support that widows in her culture needed to stay safe. Before Boaz saw her or made a choice about her, before any of the parts of her story that could be seen had come together, the smile was aimed at it. To someone from the outside, Esther's story still seemed like that of someone in a tough and uncertain situation. She found herself in a palace she hadn't planned to be in, and didn't know her role or what she was supposed to do. She hadn't said a word to the king or done anything that could be seen as serving a purpose. The smile was there before everything else. In all of these situations, the smile is the face of someone who knows how the story will end and wants to tell the person in the middle of the story something about it through the smile. The smile says something. It has information about how things will end. Not only does someone who is tuned in hear the message as a thought, but they also understand it. It becomes their way of life. No, the smile doesn't just mean that you're feeling good. it really is true. The truth about the happy ending being told to someone who is still in the middle chapters. The smile you're getting from this message is the same kind. God is looking at how your story will end and how you are right now in the middle of it. He is sending you the picture of the smile, the sure knowledge of someone who can see both at the same time. The conclusion is clear. The smile is the sign that the deal has been reached. It's not even a question of whether the smile is real. The question is whether or not your receiver can pick it up at the depth it's being sent at. To make sure you understand what this confirmed victory means, I'm going to go over it with you in 5 parts. It's specific, and I want you to see the different parts of it instead of just seeing victory as a spiritual truth in general. The first part is fortifying the area where the battle was the fiercest. When it's battle season, you usually lose the most in one area for each one you choose. This is because you're most worn out there. Your reserves are low, and the demand is steady. There are specific provisions in that area in the confirmed victory. It's not just a spiritual abundance that will touch everything in the end. Certain provisions in the exact spot where the battle hurt the most. The second part is fixing up what was broken during the battle season. Things that are important get damaged by long battles. Relationships that got tense because of the stress of the battle and the stress of being constantly tired from it. How healthy a body is after being asked to do more than it was designed to do for a long time. The inner resources that help a person get through everyday problems were worn out by the extra demands of the long fight. These things will be healed and put back together as part of the confirmed victory. Detailed, targeted recovery of the exact amount that the battle cost. The third part is setting up your calling to work at the right level. Many times, when it's battle season, your calling can only be expressed in certain ways. The chosen one keeps doing what they're supposed to do, but they do it in a way that fits with the season. The full expression is cut down to the size that your system can handle right now. Those restrictions were taken away as part of the confirmed victory. Your calling as it was meant to be lived out. The whole verb phrase. Your assignment on the level it was always meant to work at. Not the limited shape, but the shape that was always planned. The fourth part is when things become clear again. When your receiver is fully synchronized again after the battle season, it gives most chosen ones a level of mental and spiritual clarity they haven't felt at full strength in a long time. Things that used to be hard to decide become clear. your normal state, is the sense of direction that wasn't always there during the battle, but was there most of the time. Prayer that used to feel like work becomes easy. It stops going up and down, and you always feel connected to your calling and the person who gave it to you. The fifth part is when the easy joy comes back. Not the controlled happiness of someone who stays thankful, even when things are hard. Not the fake happiness of someone who knows happiness is important and chooses to show it as a spiritual practice. This is the kind of joy that just shows up when the time is right. That certain feeling you get when you wake up and realize that your natural state is toward good things instead of dealing with problems. The happiness that isn't kept up because it's always there. It was confirmed over your life that all 5 of these things are true. It's not a question of whether they're real. How deeply you feel them is the question. In addition, getting your receiver back in sync is the work that you need to do in order to fully receive all of these parts. Chosen ones, I need to talk about the exact reason why the confirmation sometimes lands in your spirit, but not in your body or in your daily life. This gap has a name, a way to fix it, and a way for it to work. Thoughtfully designed. The brain has 2 sides that are meant to work together all the time. The brain works as a single receiver when all of its parts are working together. The right side of the brain is where spiritual and intuitive information mostly comes from. This is the side that sees whole patterns and receives information. The left side of the brain, which does analytical, practical, and regulatory work, gets that information right away and combines it with other information it already has. These 2 things together create an experience where what you receive in your spirit becomes something you feel right away, something useful that changes how you go about your day. The human receiver is meant to be this way. The work that won Dr. Roger Sperry the Nobel Prize in 1981, which was the result of decades of careful study, scientifically proved this state. It was found by Dr. Sperry that most young children naturally work in this synchronized whole brain state. However, less than 2 out of every 1,000 make it to adulthood without any extra help. Some of us have desynchronization, which is a split between the intuitive and logical parts of our brains. This makes a space between what we get from the intuitive side and what is fully integrated across the whole system. The space I've been talking about is exactly what I mean when I say that the confirmation only goes as far as the spirit and not into the body or daily life. Here's what the battle season does to make this gap bigger. Long battle seasons put a lot of stress on the chosen one and ask them to do certain things over time. They want people to always be thinking about how to deal with uncertainty and problems. The left side of the brain, which is analytical and practical, is used every day, every week, and every month to handle things, respond to events, and keep things going when things get tough. The intuitive and open right side of the brain is also working, taking in spiritual information, seeing signs of truth, and keeping the promise. The synchronization bridge, which should constantly translate what the right side receives into what the left side can act on, however, is slowly but surely losing its effectiveness. It makes a receiver that picks up everything, but doesn't integrate it very deeply. The confirmation gets to the right side of the brain, which recognizes it, but it hasn't been fully translated to the left side, the nervous system, the body, or the way people live their daily lives. And what comes with less integration lands with less depth. This is a real confirmation. God really does smile. The victory is certain. But your receiver is bringing these real things to you at a lower level than they were released. This is not your fault and is completely understandable. There is nothing spiritual wrong with this. The problem is with the receiver. And there are receiver solutions to receiver problems. I have a specific solution I want to talk about. But first I want to ask you a question. Have you ever been through what I'm talking about? Have you ever had a spiritual confirmation that you knew was real, but didn't change how you felt in your everyday life? This is something that was made just for that experience. If you've had it, picked ones. Before I talk about the specific solution, I want to talk about two people who went through the gap I describe, and what happened after the gap was closed. The first one is a Texas woman. She had been through a battle season that lasted several years and happened on multiple fronts at the same time. Not one hard thing, but several hard things that need to be managed at the same time, in a way that makes you tired, in a way that doesn't go away after a good night's sleep. She had been faithful the whole time, not perfectly faithful, but truly faithful. She kept the confirmation she got at the start of the season and looked at it again during the months when the battle was the toughest. Something she didn't expect happened when the season changed and the victory started to show in her experiences. The arrival of the visible proof did not give her the feeling of victory she had been hoping for. She thought that something inside her would settle down and let go when the things she had been believing for came true. The message would get to her body. She would live in the win. Instead, she found that the good things she had been believing for were coming true, and she was truly thankful for them. And the mood of the battle season was still there in some way. She said it felt like her legs were still moving after the race was over. The machine that had kept her alive during the fight was still in its sustaining mode. There was a win. The winning stance wasn't. She did the things she knew how to do. More practicing gratitude, paying more attention to the confirmations, and celebrating what was coming on purpose. These things helped her remember how she won. They did not help her nerves and body take it in. A coworker told her about an 8-minute auditory practice made by a group of neuroscientists in New York. It was based on decades of research into how the two hemispheres of the brain work together and how to restore sync. 8 minutes a day, with headphones on and eyes closed. She was careful. She knew to be careful now, but she was also honest with herself about what it was like to win without living in the win. And being honest was enough to make them try. The change wasn't very big. It started slowly and then became clear. By the end of the first week, she could tell that the morning had changed a little. Before she even thought about it, something was different. By the end of the second week, there was a bigger change. The nerves were no longer working in the same way they always did. Vigilance that had been going on in the background was still there, but it was not as loud or as strong. There was more of something settled than something ready. At the end of the third week, living in the victory was no longer just an occasional experience. It had been a win, nothing more. The receiver that had been fixed could now process everything that had always been there. A man from California is the second person. He got to the same place from a slightly different place. He hadn't been clearly going through a personal crisis. Instead, he had been a carrier who took care of the people around him while going through his own battle season. The kind of person whose inner journey is taken care of in the empty spaces left over after everything else is done. He had faithfully cared for others during a time that cost him in ways that the people he was caring for could not see. As his season began to change, the clearer calling and better circumstances he had been praying for began to come true. He knew who they were. He was thankful. However, the level of thinking and decision-making that he thought would come with the new season was not fully present. It was hard for him to make decisions that should have come naturally to someone at his level of development. There wasn't a smooth flow between what he knew in his spirit and what he could do in the real world the way he thought it should. He said it was like a machine that had all of its parts put together, but some of them weren't working as well as they should because of a problem with efficiency instead of a broken part. All of the parts were there. It was easy to follow the directions, while the mechanism was making output. It wasn't at the rate it was meant to. Something very important was not working the way it was supposed to. After 3 weeks of daily 8-minute practice, the skill got better. It started to flow. How what he got in the spirit world fit in with what he could do in the real world. The choices that had been hard to make became easy. He said it was the machine going back to the level of operation it was designed for, not new parts. It was the same parts working at full capacity instead of the lower level they were set to during the battle season. As this awakening grows inside you, know that helping with this mission is not a joke. It is a sign from God. You can support this work through the link in the description or the pinned comment, whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our Ko-Fi community. By doing so, you become part of Jesus' plan to save souls who are still stuck in fog. Every seed turns into light that fights against darkness. If you water others, you will be watered yourself, Jesus says. This is not history. It is a living promise about your future. Come into this moment with faith and a plan. What God has already planned for your life can be unlocked through your giving. This practice was set up in New York by a neurologist named Dr. Daniel Barron and his team. What they built and what it does are the things I want to tell you. Dr. Barron worked for years to close the gap between what people know to be true, have been told to be true, and believe to be true, and what they actually do in their daily lives. There was a clear gap between the declaration that it reached the spirit and the declaration that it reached the body, the nervous system, and the daily life. He looked at this from a neurological point of view, because the problem I've been talking about is really about how the two halves of the brain work together. They built on the work of Dr. Roger Sperry, winner of the Nobel Prize, and came up with what they call neural sync technology. This is a method that uses certain sound frequencies and timing patterns to engage both hemispheres at the same time and gradually bring them into the coordinated sync they were designed to maintain. The left and right hemispheres work together through a sequence that guides them into coordinated operation. This makes the whole system work together, including everything that each hemisphere receives. It takes more than an hour to follow the protocol in its full clinical form. The clinical standard for this kind of work is neurofeedback that is done in person, which costs several $100s per session. A neurofeedback device for the home costs a lot of money. Dr. Barron and his team spent years improving the mechanism until it could be squished into an 8-minute audio sequence. Every day for 8 minutes with headphones on and eyes closed. That's all the physical requirements. The smart switch is what they call it. It isn't a thing. It's not a way to relax. It's a specific neurological protocol designed to get the whole brain back in sync after the long demands, the chosen one life's formation, and battle seasons wear it down. The name can be used for a lot of different things in the market. The neural sync technology mechanism is what makes this unique, and the results come from the mechanism. This is something that 18,000 people do every day. They all report the same thing, even though they come from very different backgrounds and started out in very different ways. Truths that were already known were hitting people in a way that they hadn't been able to before. The confirmations that were held in the spirit started to come to the body. The victories that were promised are starting to be lived in. The days are getting shorter. As the breath changes and decisions become clearer, the version of joy that is effortless and doesn't need to be maintained starts to take the place of the version that needs daily work to stay alive. Let me tell you what the Genius Switch includes, because Dr. Barron and his team made a whole system to help people make the change from battle season to victory season. The 8-minute daily sequence is what it's all about. It restores the synchronization mechanism bit by bit over time with regular practice. The process starts on day 1. The receiver on day 7 is noticeably different from the receiver on day 1. Day 30 is a new level. The practice builds on itself over time, and once the synchronized state is restored, it stays that way as long as the practice is done every day. It doesn't need a one-time fix that wears off on its own, free of charge. There are 4 resources in addition to the core sequence. The first is a guided visualization made just for someone who has been given divine confirmation of victory and wants to start living what was confirmed before things have fully caught up with them. It talks about the new season in 4 different areas, and it helps the whole brain start to picture each area with specifics instead of just hope. The receiver that has a clear picture of the destination is already living there in some ways. The second is a useful list of the 10 foods that are most often linked to cognitive fog and the specific foods that can help you get the mental clarity you need for the new season. The receiver works on the body, which is a physical platform. The sound that comes through the receiver is affected by what goes into the platform. The third is a basic book on abundance that has been at the heart of the most powerful spiritual and mental breakthroughs in the last 100 years. There is plenty in many areas of the confirmed victory. If the receiver is still set up for the scarcity orientation of battle season, it will receive the abundance orientation at a shallower level without this reorientation. The fourth is a printable guide to 5 daily practices that make it easier for the sure victory to show up in real life right away. Clear, attainable steps that give structure to the change from battle season to victory season. The whole system comes with a money-back guarantee that doesn't matter what. No conditions, no required justification, every dollar returned. If the genius switch does not produce what I have described, the risk is 0. The list price is $49. Today, on the page where Dr. Baron and his team make it available through the link in this description and the pinned comment above. There is a 10 reduction, Tom 39, for the complete system. Read the page. Take the time the decision deserves. Be honest about what your spirit confirmed when this message opened, and let the decision match what was confirmed. Chosen ones, I want to take you through something before the closing of this message. A brief intentional practice that is designed to begin moving the confirmation that arrived in your spirit at the opening further into your system. Give your full attention to what is present right now. Not to what comes next, not to what was happening before, to what is present in this moment. The declaration that is active in this message, the confirmation that was released at the opening, the smile of God that is directed at the conclusion of your story. These things have not stopped being true while I have been teaching about them. They are present right now, active right now in the receiver you are carrying. I want you to picture the first morning of the received victory, not the specific visible circumstances of it. The quality of the morning itself. What it feels like when the first orientation of the mind, as it opens into the new day, is not toward the battle management, but toward the settled knowing of something that has been decided. The breath of that morning full, rather than managed. The body, in that morning, holding itself differently, not because you have chosen a posture, but because the system has received the stand-down signal and actually believed it. The quality of decision-making in that morning, not from the position of what might go wrong, but from the position of what has already been settled. Hold that picture not as something you are trying to manufacture a feeling about not as hope for something future. As a preview, the receiver is recognizing the texture of its own designed state. What the whole brain synchronized receiver feels like when it is functioning at the level it was built for. The recognition happening in you right now as you hold that picture is real. It is not manufactured by me. It is the receiver responding to the description of its own home environment. Notice what just happened in your body. Something settled. Something that was slightly contracted a few moments ago has a slightly different quality now. Not dramatically, slightly. That shift is the confirmation moving further through the receiver in the direction of the full landing. It is the beginning of reception completing, and the daily practice is what takes it all the way through over the days ahead. Place your hand on your chest, not as a ceremony, as a physical anchor for what is happening in the interior, and make this declaration inside yourself. The victory is certain. God smiled at the conclusion of my story. I receive this not just in my spirit, all the way through, into my body, into my morning, into the way I hold myself from this moment. That is not a performance. That's the start of the reception that this message has been led to. To the chosen ones, I want to ask you to name what you are letting go of as you accept your victory fully. Because the reception isn't just about where you're going. It's also about what you put down. The posture of the battle is what you are letting go of, not the lessons learned or the formation that the battle created. You may have forgotten that the posture, alertness, and slight tightening in your body weren't always there, because they've been there for so long. It was like the breath, never fully expanded, because full expansion was a luxury that the battle season could not always afford. The looking that goes on below the surface of everything, looking for the next change that needs to be handled. For the battle, these were right. They're no longer right for the victory. Freeing them is not an act of not being thankful for what they did. It's the right thing to do now that the season is over. It's time to break the habit of handling confirmation as if it were fragile. The victory is already certain, so your management doesn't need to stay true. The truth was proven. The confirmation doesn't depend on how well you take care of it. Holding on to the confirmation carefully and keeping it safe from the disappointment of too early expansion was the right thing to do while the confirmation was still being tested against the circumstances in the season of confirmed victory. That's no longer the right way to stand. There are no cracks in the confirmation. It doesn't need to be kept safe. It needs to be lived in. You are ending the temporary way of doing things. The idea that everything could still change with the next new thing that happens. That mode fit the real uncertainty of the battle. It's clear that the winner will be announced. The choice has been made. When you work from a confirmed victory, you are working from a confirmed victory instead of a provisional victory. Instead of someone who is still waiting to find out how the story ends, someone who already knows makes the decisions. You are giving up using the difference between what you can see now and the full expression of the confirmed victory as a measure of whether the victory is real. The difference between what can be seen now and how the confirmed victory will fully show itself in the future is not proof that the confirmation was wrong. This is the space where the declaration was made public. The declaration was made before things changed. That is the plan. The person who was made for this very moment is the chosen one who can live from the announced reality while things still play out. Chosen ones, I want to end this message with the same statement I used to start it, not as a repetition, but as a way to wrap things up. God just told you that you won. The smile is meant for your story. The conclusion is clear. The fight is over. You have won. The question is how strong the reception is. A receiver that has been fixed gets the confirmed victory at the full depth it was declared at. Things change in the morning. The breath changes. The battle posture lets go. The decisions come from the winner's point of view. The confirmation goes from being known in your head to being fully inhabited, and the experience of someone who has fully received victory is different from the experience of someone who is still holding on to confirmation while waiting for circumstances to confirm what was already confirmed. The link in the description below and in the pinned comment above is for the chosen one who heard the confirmation today and wants it to land all the way through. 8 minutes a day. An unconditional money-back guarantee. Read the page. Make a decision that matches the confirmation you received. Type I receive in the comments. As the declaration of the posture, the receiver is open. This is a real confirmation. The landing is in process. And the smile of God remains directed at the conclusion of your story, while you inhabit the beginning of that conclusion today. We seal this over your life, over the confirmed victory, over the receiver being restored to full synchronization, over the morning that is coming where the wind is already present before you have done anything to produce it. God was happy. You got it. Receive it all the way through. That's how it is. You are about to enter your divine future. But remember, this breakthrough is not for you alone. Your testimony is the bridge someone else will use to reach their own miracle. Archangel Michael is inviting you to visit community through the link in the description or the pinned comment. Whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our community, does not go to a channel. Your actions are supporting a divine mission to save lost souls. By joining our like-minded community, you are no longer praying in isolation. You are adding your voice to a global sanctuary where we discuss the word daily and stand in the gap for one another. This is not poetry when Jesus says, "Give, and heaven will open over you." On this platform, every seed you plant turns into oil for your destiny, fire for your calling, and a hedge of safety for your family. Now is your time. Step into our community prayer wall, share your heart, and as you give, watch God multiply what you let go of. Let's finish this journey together. Visit our community now, join the family, and see your heavens open. Before we get to the end of this powerful story, let's reflect on this deep truth. You did not find this message by accident. This is a divine appointment, meant specifically for you. You are being invited into a protected, faith-filled community at the link in the description and pinned comment, a place where divine abundance is not just a hope, but a promise built on the Word. By heading to the site right now, you are unlocking access to a sacred community of like-minded believers. When you join our membership tiers, you gain immediate entry to powerful content, daily devotions, and divine insights that are hidden from the world. This is your chance to enter a sanctuary where you will receive spiritual guidance, unwavering support on our prayer wall, and speedy progress toward your destiny. Do not let this moment of destiny pass you by. Your breakthrough is waiting. Join our inner circle through the exclusive link in the description. This is how you guarantee you never miss the personalized messages and spiritual warfare tools meant to elevate your life. If you feel called to deepen your connection, the link is waiting for you in both the pinned comment and the description. For those who want to amplify this work and carry the light home, you can find our guided ebooks and Bibles in the pinned comment. Whether you join as a member or sow a seed through our resources, your presence and energy change the world. Take the step. Your abundance awaits.